Hello everyone. Let's continue our topic on negotiation. So when we were discussing about negotiation, we have been looking at negotiation planning process, okay, which is developing specific objectives, analyze each party's strengths and weakness, gather relevant information, recognize your counterpart's needs, identify facts and issues, establish a position on each issue. So that's where we have seen, how BATNA, minimum, maximum, or ideal target, ideal can be target value. Okay, so that we can have a negotiation zone. If we will get a negotiation zone or zone of settlement, it would lead to a successful negotiation. That means it might lead to a potential agreement, mutual beneficial agreement by both parties. So, but this negotiation has to be planned. This activity needs proper planning. That's what we are doing. But before planning, it is very important to know what should be the negotiation strategy. So, uh, we will be focusing more on negotiation strategy. What kind of strategy, what action plan any party prepares to uh, do negotiation. And after that, briefing to the stakeholders, and practice the negotiation. That is, these are also important parts. So but to devise a strategy, one must understand a very important aspect, that is duality of negotiation. When two parties are actually getting into negotiation, right, there's what is this duality? So at one end, we see that the supplier and buyer, or two parties negotiating. Here we are more strengthening on in the context of supply management. There, one view is cooperative negotiation. So cooperative negotiation is also known as win-win negotiation, where there is an intrinsic intent, where parties would definitely have intention to reach to an agreement. So here, it is a cooperative win-win negotiation where both parties would benefited out of the negotiation. At least this is the intention of negotiation. However, the other end is the competitive negotiation. It's a kind of win-lose negotiation. It means that if one party would be able to win something, right, or maybe they would be able to achieve something or get more benefits, that benefits would be at the cost of other party. So this is there, because in any negotiation there would be differences between the parties. So if the differences are resolved to only one's advantage, means one party's advantage, we call it as competitive will lose negotiation. This is also just like a zero sum game, that the gain of one party would be at the loss of other party. So ideal situation would be to focus on the cooperative win-win negotiation. And this is very important to keep in mind, how we can achieve the cooperative negotiation and how we can have the win-win negotiation. There can be some instances, right? So as I have told you that there are myths, like the myths, one of the myths might be like the negotiation has to be a win-loss negotiation, but in reality, especially as more and more awareness is happening these days, so the parties, they know that if they will be focusing on a benefit of both parties, right, from as an outcome of the negotiation, it might be useful to both parties, to get benefited out of the negotiation and then forming contracts. So when we say this cooperation, another myth we have discussed, that it is not about only price haggling. So what are the other possibilities? right? For example, here a supplier offering the manufacturer early access to new technology, right? Many a times, suppliers who are supplying new products, right? It can be, now we see that these days many innovative products are coming into picture, so newer and newer technology, micro nanotechnology is coming. So this innovation, this inventions, start at a very early stage of supply chain. Okay, so if suppliers are uh, developing new technologies, they are coming if with new technologies, if they can give this access to buyer, suppose the negotiation is on whether buyers can access new technology. So what would be the benefit, right? We are saying cooperative negotiation. Access to new technology would certainly benefit buyer, because buyer would be able to use that new uh, technology and to come up with new products, right? So new valued added products, right? So the if value addition would be acceptable in the market, if customers would like that market product, right? If customers would like that product, or the market is conducive, that would definitely result in more sale. More sale would result in, more uh, a number of orders, larger orders to the supplier. So in this way, like, supplier would also be benefited. So such kind of negotiations are also, these are the also point of negotiation where both the parties can benefit it out of this. So this is one of this example which comes to my mind was like, when Boeing went for outsourcing for the first time, they actually like they were open to their global supply partners, like for involving them, in the uh, development process. So such kind of avenues result in, the cooperative negotiation. So many a times there can be a negotiation with the cooperative intention that buyer offers to work with the supplier in joint efforts to in reducing the cost. Sometimes this is the buyer's capability on helping the suppliers in reducing the cost. So these days, like, the big giants, right? So big giant in manufacturing industry or manufacturing company or original equipment manufacturers, like auto vehicle manufacturers, right? They actually, like, when they get supply from tier 1 suppliers, like probably, the engine bodies or the vehicle bodies. So we see that, there is a lot of component from, the raw materials, like, steel or, other copper. So a lot of, like, this kind of metals, this kind of materials goes into, various parts and components, right? So right from tier 2, tier 3, tier suppliers. So in such a case that, the the scale at which, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, the scale at which, the raw material is required by these entities might not be as large as, a buyer as one entity, OEM as one entity can have. So many a times this buyer, when we say buyer, it's a original equipment manufacturer. Sometimes original equipment manufacturer has bargaining power in buying, uh, some raw material like steel, right, which, can be negotiated at very lower prices because of the volume they buy. So they buy on behalf of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers. So such kind of options, this is just one kind of avenue where buyer can offer something to the supplier, like joint effort in reducing the cost. If buyer can use the bargaining power because of making a bulk order in buying, this can be transferred to the the the, the raw material like steel, buying at lesser price, right? Diverting that thing to the suppliers would certainly reduce the supplier's cost, and hence supplier would definitely like to, you know, to give the product at lesser price. So such kind of arrangements are very important to achieve cooperative negotiation, and such kind of examples give avenues, to negotiate. So what price, what cost, at what quantity two parties can agree on to have this kind of joint efforts. So these are the examples of negotiation, where we see cooperative negotiation, how two parties can mutually benefited from such intention of negotiation. So then we will move to negotiation strategy, okay, keeping in mind, what we want to achieve, like, win-win-win loss, right? So one has to devise negotiation strategy that if we want to achieve mutually beneficial agreement, okay, so one must remember that we have to involve a strategic sourcing group or purchasing group or a supply management department of the organization. So this is very important. It's early involvement, right? Because throughout this course, we have seen that the today's supply management department is empowered, knowledgeable, and intelligent enough, to gather facts, information on various aspects. So if we will involve our supply management group or strategic sourcing group early, they can have a upper hand on setting the position, right? So for example, if any user department, it can be production, it can be marketing in an organization, if they would be a little bit certain about supplier, and if they already have, some kind of pre-meetings where more or less, they have decided upon price or a particular issue, right? So when we carry out negotiation in this environment where the user department has already kind of decided, the pre-decided the supplier, or with certainty that this would be issue, and so if this is the environment where supply management is involved little late, that actually gives there is no leverage left, for negotiation. Okay, so because supply management might be knowing other avenues, right? For example, the supplier with which user department has been dealing with, that supplier might be supplying to some other department as well. Supply management being a central group in an organization, they might negotiate on other critical elements, by offering, by asking for, some more value during negotiation. So you see that, they might ask, like, to give discount to buy two products in a bundle. So this is just one example, where the supply management, if involved early, it would give leverage, to negotiate on other critical elements of negotiation options or offerings. So this is also very important when we devise strategy. What is the position of supply management group, and how to and when to involve strategic sourcing or supply management department. Then while devising strategy, one has to be clear of tactics. Okay, so what kind of tactics, how we would apply tactics, what kind of tactics we will apply, right? What are the tactics? Tactics are just plans or actions, or one can say these are the means to execute the negotiation strategy. So our ultimate goal is to meet the negotiation objectives. So these tactics are just means and plans to achieve a negotiation goal or objective. So when we have to devise our negotiation strategy, one can ask this question: who, what, here, when, and how, right? So who is going to negotiate? So this is also part of, like, our plan, that when we would go for negotiation, who is going to negotiate, who are the negotiator, who is the other party, what are their beliefs, what are their negotiation styles, what is the skill and expertise of individual or individuals who would come for the negotiation, what is the issue, what is the main position of the negotiation, right? And where we are going to negotiate. Sometime venue, the place matters a lot. If we are, if buyer, purchasing manager or buyer would do the negotiation at their own premises, then they can have access to data, information, in quick manner. So venue does matter, and when to negotiate, right? So this all and how. So how to negotiate, what strategy, what tactics one can use, to negotiate, how one can uh, 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 gradually take the negotiation to next level by what kind of increment or decrement of various options. So this is what is all comprised of negotiation strategy, that one should be clear of ultimate uh, uh, type of negotiation, like cooperative negotiation, early involvement of supply management group, what tactics one can have, so uh, and this 5 questions would really help to chart out the strategy. So what kind of tactics one can use? One must be aware of this tactics, because when negotiation is on, when the negotiation is going on, at that point of time, you never know how this negotiation will continue or will go from over a period of time, how it would gradually progress. This is very difficult, to estimate or guess a priori. So in that case, it is good to be handy, it is good to be prepared with some of the tactics, that would really help in in not be at loss, or it would help not to deviate from your main objectives.